He says it needs a cap.
All righty. I guess we're live. Welcome to the show, everybody. Tio will be with us momentarily.
I feel alive.
He had to do something with his air conditioning. He's in the middle of the heat somewhere. So
and it's funny because the other day he was complaining about the cold, and now he's going to be complaining about the heat.
Well, that's the way it's been here. We go from 40 degrees during the day, and the next day it's 80. I think you had that kind of weather too, don't you?
We have had some of the same thing. Yes, it was 85 the other day, and then it's been
beautiful here yesterday.
In the high 60s, super low 70s the last couple of days. Can't make up its mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, we wanted to do a controversial, drama-infusing show, and we were going to do terrorists, but then at the last minute, we decided grounding because that gets everybody upset. What we're not doing is we're not giving anybody advice. We're not telling you how to ground. We're encouraging everybody to check the local and federal regulations for grounding in your environment and follow those. And we're encouraging you to seek advice from a licensed professional, not a bunch of yahoos on YouTube. Fair enough?
We ground all the things. Ground everything. The show's over.
We have a master electronics or electrician in the chat too.
Good. I'm glad we got him. He can keep us straight. But really, what we're going to do is just talk a little bit about grounding and see what happens. Ground is a myth. Is it though? Because when I go outside, I'm standing on the ground. But it is what it is.
Is it the flat ground or the round ground?
The flat ground. We have a few slides to go through. So as predicted, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and get started. So, does anybody know what that thing is?
That's a bus bar, son.
That's exactly what it is. And it's a fairly typical thing that you would see in a ham shack where you have one of these bus bars mounted to your wall or your desk or something like that. And so, why we use these things?
To not have a ground loop.
Yeah, well, what they say to do is to take the ground lug from all your equipment, right, from your tuner, and tie it to a single point ground, which would be this thing, and then tie this thing to your earth ground. And I got to thinking about that, and I was wondering, well, why? Why would they tell you to do that stuff? Because let's take a look at another picture over here. Does anybody know what that is?
An ICOM 7300.
The world's greatest radio. And so we have an ICOM.
Calm down, Chuck. Deep breath.
Well, there's a ton of radios way better than that, but okay.
Oh my God.
Chuck being salty. So if we take a look at the
even
back,
in their own brand.
Yeah. I would hope that a radio that's as old as the 7300 does have better radios out as competition now.
Right. So if we take a look at the back of the 7300, you see this, there's a ground lug over here on the left-hand side right above the coaxial connector, right? And that's where you would ground that to this bus bar that we were looking at earlier, right? And they say to do that, to use that bus bar to keep all of your stuff grounded to that single point, and they tell you not to chain them together, right? So don't take your ICOM and connect this ground lug to your tuner, for example, and then from the tuner to the bus bar. And I guess where my question is why? Because if I take a multimeter and I put it in continuity mode, right, and I touch one side to the shield of the coaxial connector, and I take the other one and I touch it to this ground lug, I've got continuity, right?
Yes, but you have different potential. And I think that's the reason you want to take it all to a single point.
Well, because my coax that would come out of here and go to my tuner. Now, if I take my tuner and I touch the ground lug there with one end of my multimeter and the ground lug here, I have continuity, right?
Yes.
So I have a ground connection through my coaxial cable. And so what they're doing is they're chained together the way that they don't advise to change the ground lugs together, right?
But
you got the negative power connection, the ground lug, and the shield of the coax, all three connected to each other internally in the radio.
Correct. So I guess the question is that does that negate the need for the ground bus and hooking everything together?
No, and Scott nailed it with his answer right there. You don't want the ground fault to flow through everything else.
Well, right, that's right, because you want the fault to take the path of least resistance,
Exactly.
right? And so that's why you tie everything to that single point ground, because your coaxial cable's 50 ohm resistance, give or take, right? And then depending upon what you use to connect that ground lug to your ground bar, you should be able to get a lower resistance.
I mean, unless you're Ziggy, and then it's 75 ohms. So
right. And that might be even more important. But the thing is even if they were talking about the ground fault flowing, it can still go through the bus bar and then through over to the other radio, right? So just because the current that's coming out of the back of this machine hits the bus bar doesn't mean it stops. What you're hoping for is that you have a lower impedance path to ground through that lug, through your wire, into the bus bar, and then from the bus bar to your earth ground.
It's all about potential.
What I like is how the negative wire on the power supply connector connects to the negative wire in the power supply, which then connects to the ground lug in your AC. And then you take this grounding bus bar and you connect it out the window to an 8-foot ground rod that you pounded into the ground, which you then connect back to your main house ground. So you've got another ground loop going there too.
Actually, no, because your power supply is going to be grounded to the house ground or earth ground,
which is then bonded to your
your power supply. No, sir. And your well, it could be, yeah.
It's supposed to be,
but the DC output is isolated. It's not grounded to earth ground. They're not the same ground.
I have to get out my power supply and check it.
Yeah, well, it's isolated. That's the whole purpose of it.
Is to get one, because I bet you anything that if you take your power supply and then you put a multimeter on that third prong, and then the other one on the chassis of the power supply, which is your DC chassis ground, you're going to see continuity.
I don't think so, because they're supposed to be isolated. That's the way they work, as far as I knew.
Jim has torn one apart.
More than one. And if the heavy bastard was not out in the shop, I'd go get it and we could look right now.
Let's see. We got a Science Live.
You got one?
Oh, okay, good, because I got one here, but if Tio's got it, I'll let him drive.
Y'all keep talking. I'll come back with the beeper in a second.
I mean, basically, what I was reading at some point, not just right before the show, but there's been a while.
Last night at the Holiday Inn Express?
No. I saw it on TV. I was watching YouTube. There's basically three kinds of grounds. There's chassis ground, there's earth ground, and I can't remember what they called the third one. And this was
there's AC. You have AC ground, right? You have AC ground, RF ground.
Yeah,
and then you have your
safety
ground, right? Which is your earth, AC, and then safety for the potential across all your. You want to keep them all the same. Okay, while Tio's doing that, let's go. So, just talking a little bit about safety first, right? So proper bonding and grounding, if you do it correctly, and bonding is tying all of your equipment together. It's not grounded. So you can have your stuff bonded, but not grounded. And for some reason they say grounding and bonding when they talk about this. But one of the things around safety is that what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have lightning protection. And that's important to keep lightning out of the house. So if you have your antenna grounded, you should have some sort of surge arrestor or lightning protector on your coaxial cable that comes back and ties to your bus bar outside, which ties to your ground rod outside. And now you want to be the lowest impedance path to ground, because you don't want that lightning. You don't want to invite it into your home, because that's when you have equipment damage and stuff like that. Also, safety is around electrical faults, like Tio was mentioning. So what you want to make sure is that all of your equipment that you're using is bonded to that single grounding point, so that you don't have a disparity in voltage potential across to any one of your pieces of your equipment, for example. Because if you were to touch two pieces of equipment that have different voltage potential, you might just become the conductor. And that's not usually a happy day. And then the other one is that you have you can have electrical interference between your equipment. Measure with a balun, with a voltage meter, and you get a short from the input to the output. Now measure with a VNA and you see a near open. Same is true for how you ground your station.
Yeah.
I believe you, Hollywood.
And meanwhile, live at Steve's.
Ready to go.
Let's get Steve on the big screen.
Let's plus him up. You got it.
All right. So I got the multimeter here. I got it set in beep mode.
I
So when
bet
I
you
touch the two together-
you have continuity.
Oh yeah, I already tested it. I already know. So I'm going to take the black probe and I'm going to put it on the AC ground lug. I'm going to put it on the DC negative. See that light? Hear that beep?
Mm-hmm.
That's connected. And I'm going to touch it to the chassis screw that holds the whole thing together, and that beeps. So your
So those
radio's
are all
DC
interconnected.
negative is connected to the ground on the AC side.
What power
already have
supply
your-
is that?
So
Is that an
I know y'all are going to
MFJ?
call me out on this. This isn't a Linko, and let's just get weird with a Linko, right?
No, I just was curious which one it was.
Yeah, it's an Linko. I like it.
But I'm sure they're all like that. Now, some folks I've seen advocate cutting that ground, breaking that connection. I'm not sure you'd want to do that, but I've seen.
Well, yeah, everything's dusty. That's where the ground loop comes in. That always gets me. I mean, I've run without a ground my entire ham career. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I'm lazy. So
I'm all about lazy.
out in the field, I'm not pounding an 8-foot ground rod into a national park and getting yelled at for that.
Right.
Well, also when you're out in the field and you're doing that, you're essentially floating everything, right? When you're in your shack, you're not, right? Because you are connected to mains ground at some point along the chain.
So they were asking in the chat what it is. It's the Kyrie's KM601.
Jerry Simowitz, I think I said that right.
Hey,
he says,
Jerry.
will the antenna arrestor block signals to my remote tuner via my bias T? Yeah, I believe that you have to make sure that you get a ground arrestor or lightning arrestor that facilitates bias T.
Yep.
Usually those things don't like being run in the reverse direction. The ones with the little gas pill, they don't like high SWR. They don't like, having stuff shoved from the inside out. They like it from the outside in. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, you can get the arresters that are one direction, and then you can get them that are bidirectional.
That would make a difference with the bias T stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me do this. We talked a little bit about system integration, and that is really just bonding everything together for that consistent voltage potential. And then you get performance gains when you ground and bond. So you don't get noise. Some of the noise that might be traveling on your coaxial cable, for example, if that routes to ground, that stuff goes away. And then also, when you ground correctly, you hopefully don't have any ground loops that could cause noise or hum in your headset or on your speaker or on your microphone.
So we already have some drama.
Just checked a GME PS within reach, and the VE is isolated from ground. How
What
about
is
that?
GME?
That's a brand, I would guess, in Australia.
Oh, he's Australian. That's right. Hey, Darren.
Darren.
They might be doing that a little different.
Look at me with my American biases over here. GME ain't no American brand, son. I can't import that from China or Japan.
So I think that varies. Maybe I'll have to check the ones I have. I'm curious now.
I would assume the electrical codes are different in Australia than they are in the U.S.
Maybe.
Like the bulk of it overlaps.
Like
240, yeah, I think.
Don't they
They're
run
230.
But it's 50 hertz, right? Don't they run 50 hertz?
230, 50,
I
yeah.
think so, yeah.
Electro Boom just did a travel video to Australia where he was blowing up crap in the hotel.
All right. I'm going to test this MFJ power supply real quick, like T.O. was doing.
Dave, everybody has weird plugs unless you're in North America. I said it. I'm sorry, Darren. You got a weird plug.
That's right.
I like that they got the on-off switch on all their plugs over there.
That was
So anyhow,
interesting.
this one has the same continuity that T.O. just demonstrated. This MFJ, which is now being sold as Intellatron.
Both manufactured in the same factory.
Right. Well, what's
outside of
funny
the
is everybody be like, that MFJ's mighty fine junk. It sucks. I got me an Intellatron.
Yeah. Listen, how many? Yeah, MFJ stayed in business for how many years because they sold crap? Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm not saying
Everything
that
you
all
ever needed.
right, and crap you didn't know you needed. Stuff it was like, oh, I didn't know I needed this.
Yeah, I
I
would
mean-
always see stuff that I was like, wow, I didn't even know this product existed when you're at the MFJ booth.
Some of their stuff
Mhm.
may and may not have been the most awesome build quality,
I've never had a problem with anything.
but I never had a problem. Exactly, Chuck. I never had a problem with any of their stuff at all.
Well, the other
I
thing
did
is
take
that
my
they
tuner and turn it
import-
upside down, shake it first.
You're right.
Sure there's no
Did you buy
rattles.
it used or brand new?
Oh, mine was new.
Okay.
So
'Cause they did
but
sell
they
those as
say that
kits.
mine's they one or two above
Factory
the kit
built.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ziggy says he's never grounded anything, so he's not a ground earther.
I think
That
we can mention that again because I'm with you.
He must have been a little late. But we're talking about the MFJ. They also had a policy where they encourage you to repair your stuff, right? So like if you got something that didn't work right and you
They
messed
didn't want
with it,
back.
they would still
Hey,
warranty
I
it.
got time for that.
But the other thing I want to point out is in this picture, I included this really thick copper braid, and it's, you can use aluminum braid and stuff like that. But a lot of times people for bonding their stuff together will like take coax and take the shield out of like old coax. Don't do that. You want something that can handle the current. And so I think what a lot of folks recommend is around an inch and a half wide flat braid. Copper braid like that.
Now, I do ground in accordance with
Like this.
Exactly like that.
Wow,
Chuck.
Chuck, you have
That might be a
girth.
little extra wide.
Chuck showing his braids.
I reckon. Wow.
This is,
Chuck, hold it up again. We'll get you on the big screen.
it's 1 inch. They had a sale on it at R&L one time. $18. You
And that's
probably
the
can't buy it for
pre-tin.
that now.
The pre-tin stuff.
Yeah, this is
That's copper braid, right?
Well, the
It's gonna smell
tweakers are
real
really
good when you
ran
get a
up the
lightning
price.
strike.
it says 20 feet of it.
The tweakers are really had the price of copper going up now.
Yeah. Now I don't use, so I have all of my grounds going to a single point. I don't have a sexy bus bar like that. I'm using copper pipe, and I just tapped it and screwed
Jim
the
Plain
wires
pipe.
to it. Right.
Jim likes to tap it.
Well, they suggest that you do that, that use a pressure connection as opposed to solder.
Yes,
Because
mine are screwed in.
That solder can splatter and actually disconnect with a lot of energy going through it.
But I have the braid. I have the braid on some things, but I ran out of it, and I took apart some 312 wire and used solid copper. I just split open some Romex and used that wire to connect everything.
I don't think pre-tin makes a difference, Jerry.
It'll keep it from
there is a reason.
oxidizing.
He's from oxidizing. That's it.
Patina. Can't say the R word.
And let's see what we have here.
It doesn't apply to copper.
Yeah. So we have
It's verdigris on copper. It's rust on iron.
Oh, gotcha.
So comparative overview of grounding system. So like Tio was mentioning, you have your lightning protection is one of the types of ground that we use with the surge arresters and ground rods to discharge any energy. Then we have your RF ground, which are radials and ground planes coupled to the earth. They actually provide a return path, shockingly enough, back to your station via the ground, via the earth. And then you have AC ground, which connects all your electrical faults to each other for safety, code, and compliance. So there's 3 different things that you need to consider when doing this stuff. And talking a little bit about lightning protection and ground. So I think it's safe to say that if you take a lightning strike, you're going to have a problem. Most of the lightning protection that we talk about and address are for nearby lightning strikes or static buildup in the, in the air. But what we use are surge arresters, and what they do is they stop the transient voltage that goes across your connections and protect your receivers, your transceivers and your equipment, and hopefully you and your house as well. Whenever it's going to be a storm, I disconnect everything. I don't know. Do you guys do? That's what you guys do. Right?
Yeah.
No.
Mostly because my stuff won't survive the
still.
storm, just the wind. My house will barely survive the wind.
Well, there was a lot of
surge don't work.
There's a lot of
what's
talk.
to keep it from just jumping across anyhow once it blows it.
Yeah, so I mean, I disconnect mine outside. I just go out and unscrew the coax. People were saying I've seen where they say take the end of your coaxial cable and place it into a glass jar, and I think that sounds like crazy talk.
I think that is.
RF out. Yeah, you want to catch it as it falls out of the cable.
I think if lightning comes down that coax, you're going to have flying glass everywhere in the house.
Well, I'll tell you what. when you do put that that end of the coax in the glass jar, make sure you put like some tissue paper or toilet paper in there, and then put another end of coax in there, and then you've got yourself a nice bandpass filter.
Right.
It works really well, from what I understand.
Yeah.
No, I don't disconnect. I've got the paired antenna disconnect on the Flex and a lightning arrestor. So when the power's off, when I turn off the power to all that, the disconnect breaks the connection anyway. So yeah. But I don't think it would survive a direct strike. No, probably not. It would probably arc over everything, but
Tumbly hasn't been to the South. He don't know what a turlet is.
Yeah, that's making me laugh.
A toilet. Down here
the thing
in the South,
down
here in the South, turlet.
Well, Archie Bunker used to say turlet. He was a cab driver in New York, right?
I never watched that racist show. Are you
I
kidding
never
me?
watched that show.
I never once laughed at any of his jokes.
I didn't laugh. I was always triggered.
Yeah.
But then we have grounding electrodes, and so like with lightning protection, we do a lot of stuff with like grounding rods and big metal plates that connect everything, like out at your antenna installation. So what's crazy is they say that when you put your ground rods in, if you have more than one ground rod, they should be about 8 to 10 feet apart from each other, and then they should be bonded together. So it takes everything back to your main or your house AC.
Yep.
Like I don't have a ton of property, but if I had a tower like out in the far corner of my yard and I had a grounding rod there, in order to tie that back in, I would probably need about 8 or 10 grounding rods. And that seems like an awful lot of work.
You would do one grounding rod for your RF shack and one grounding rod, which is already there for your house electricity. And then you'd run a cable between the two of them. You wouldn't run grounding rods every 8 feet to get to the other grounding rod. You can.
No, they the recommendation is that you put multiple ground rods in, because they say that your connections between your bonding connections should be kept short as possible.
Do what you got to do though. So my farm, my electric fence on my farm, I had 3 ground rods that were 8 foot deep, 8 foot apart, and they were all connected together.
Did they connect back to your mains ground?
No. Well, I mean, they connected back through the I forget what the hell they call that thing. The thing that electrifies the fence. It's probably called the electrifier.
The electrifier thing.
Difficulty.
It's called a dingus, son.
Right.
And then path separation. You want to keep your lightning grounds separate from your RF grounds and your AC grounds. So I guess what that's saying is like if you have like a ground plane underneath your antenna and you have a ground rod out there as well, you do want to keep them separate, but you're going to have continuity if you touch them with a multimeter, right? Because they all are connected to the shield ground of your antenna.
And I'm not saying anything bad at all about a DX Commander, but if that thing gets hit with lightning, it's going to vaporize. There ain't going to be nothing left of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not saving an antenna with any of this. Mm-mm.
Jean-Luc Geron, he's saying that ground rods can be up to 2 times their length apart and then bonded together, preferably with thermal bonding agent. And I think that's a rule of thumb. And doesn't some of that depend upon the conductivity of the earth that you're mounting the ground rods in?
Yes. As with anything in ham radio, it depends.
Yep.
Right. And our buddy Hamman in Connecticut, he's saying anything will vaporize if struck by lightning.
That's right.
What about those rednecks that get hit by lightning? Like when they're out, like out working and stuff, and they say,
"Well, if they said hold my beer before it happened, they're going to be okay."
Yeah.
And then their friend will say, "Tommy Lee, just walk it off. Get up, walk it off. It'll be all right."
Man, you smell funnier.
Yeah, I smell chicken.
You're probably right, Jimmy.
I was actually afraid, like I would disconnect my coax inside the house, and I was afraid that if my antenna got struck by lightning, there would be a little lightning bolt that shot out of the coax and hit me in the back of the chair or something.
Right, hit you in your hind end when you're not looking.
Right. What was that?
Mr. Grubbs is saying, how many people have a way to discharge cables before you reattach your gear? Having seen coax arcing do study. Yeah. So Josh actually left his rig expert connected to his antenna overnight, and he ended up smoking his rig expert and he had to repair it.
I'll be darned.
And I've seen a lot of times where people have cooked things like Tia mentioned, nano VNAs and antenna analyzers by taking coaxial cable and putting it on to your test equipment without discharging it. And so what I do, which is, I'm getting ready to say that what I do is a redneck method. I fit right into that demographic 100%.
I have a cooler full of cold drinks in the back of my truck. So,
right. I take the coaxial cable and a screwdriver, and I hold the screwdriver by the handle so I don't get shocked or anything. And I short out the center conductor to the shield. And
Mike, probably Budweiser.
Right. And that's what I do. But it really is important to make sure that you discharge anything like that before you connect it into your antenna analyzer, or else you might be buying a new antenna analyzer, or at a minimum getting out the soldering iron. John uses his tongue, and I believe that.
But Tombalay saying he had a coax sitting on the beach sparking ahead of the storm. Yeah, that was static discharging into the ground, I would guess.
Yeah, I've seen videos of people who have that, and it is crazy. So yeah, it's important to have a ground to stop that stuff, to like bleed off that static electricity, and it's also important to make sure that you disconnect is probably the safest thing to do when you have storm looming on the horizon.
I don't, and nothing's ever happened. So
a lot of
your mileage may vary. You know,
a lot of
you do.
Don't.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm saying a lot of people don't ground.
I mean, I ground, but I also don't disconnect everything when the storm's coming. I don't, because I'm just too damn lazy. I'm just going to.
You also have it in your shack outside, right? So if you do have a problem, it's not as dangerous as your whole house.
Right.
Not that your shack doesn't have your oscilloscope in there, which I know how important that is to you.
No, the good one's right back here, but the old electronics are sitting out in the shop.
Gotcha. So just have a little bit more on our grounding system. So we talked about low loss RF pass. For RF, we use radials and counterpoises, generally speaking, for that stuff. And then we have interference control, where proper grounding suppresses RFI by stabilizing return currents and reducing stray emissions. So you want to keep, this is like when you get RFI from unbalance in your antenna or any feedback on the outside of your coaxial shield. And RF ground will help get rid of that and help you clean up your signal to noise ratio. And so you have lower noise, better signal. And then design matters. Effective layouts include radio networks, grounding planes, and match to frequency and antenna type. So a lot of times we talk about like ground planes and ground radio systems and stuff like that. We talk about using them to direct energy coming off of your antenna. Like you say, hey, well, I can point this antenna by modifying or manipulating my ground plane. When you do that, it does manipulate the coupling of the antenna to earth, which part of that is supposed to be the ground connection through the earth back to your earth ground and back into your radio. But as long as you're using ground planes and counterpoises, you're okay. And then we'll talk a little bit about the station AC ground, ensuring electrical safety and compliance there. AC grounding routes fault currents safely to the earth through your ground rod that's connected to your mains. And the one thing that we wanted to continue to stress is that you should do this in compliance with the national electrical standards, right? Make sure that you have anything that you do electrically with your AC ground should have an electrician take a look at it, and it should. In a lot of cases, you have to have a permit pulled to have this work done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Depends on where you live.
I said I would always check it. That's the Safety Sally answer.
Right.
As I live out in the county, I just do it myself.
In Alabama, it doesn't matter too much, I'd imagine.
Well, I don't live in town. There's no code in the county. If you ever saw my plumbing, you'd know
nothing
that
happens
there was
out
no
of town.
code. Right.
Nothing happens out there.
We don't have any unsafe things don't happen in the county.
Man, these comments are coming in fast. Hertz is asking, has anyone ever seen the open end of a coax arc between the shield and the center pin due to atmospheric static? Yeah, didn't somebody was just saying that they had that happen in Matambe, right?
Matambale was saying that exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, let's see what else we got in here. I think we're starting to get to the end. So we talked a little bit about this too, using multiple ground rods. So the thing is that you want to use them with lower ground resistance for multiple interconnected rods to make it that what you want is, we talked about that low impedance path to ground, right? And so if you have more ground rods, that might help with that. Enhanced surge protection, which distributes energy from lightning faults across a larger area to make sure that it does not make it into your house. And then it also helps adjust consistent ground potential, where it minimizes the voltages across gradients across the site. But like it was just mentioned, you want to make sure that not all earth has the same resistance, right? The soil resistance is not the same. So like some companies sell this stuff that you can buy. It's like ground in a bag. Have you guys seen that stuff?
Oh yeah, I have. But that's not really meant, like MFJ has a station ground reference, and then G Gable has a ground mat that you put on the back of the car, and I think they kind of borrowed the idea from Comet or something like that. That's a counterpoise ground, not really. I don't know about the MFJ one, but the little mats that you magnetize to your car are counterpoise ground.
Yeah, no, what I've seen is stuff like when you put your ground rod in, when you have the hole dug, instead of hammering it in, some people will dig a hole with an auger, and then they take this stuff and they pour it into that hole. They sell it at Home Depot and stuff like that, but it's more for AC type ground stuff.
I'm looking that up because that's interesting. I'm trying to decide if you're screwing with us right now.
I'm not. I swear.
Grounding filler materials are used to improve the conductivity of soil for grounding systems. Yeah, that's a thing.
Or you can pee on it. Like, don't people say pee on it?
Bentonite and natural materials like bentonite and marconite are commonly used as soil substitutes and filler materials for electrical grounding applications in challenging environments.
Yeah, and here we go. There's a P recommendation. But Jimmy's saying, yeah, that's for electrical ground, not RF ground.
Yeah, Jason, just take a whiz on it. That's because your pee is full of salt water. So I mean, aces. It's like your pee in the ocean.
There was another question in here, and now I can't find it. Everybody's come too damn fast for me. Yeah, well, I can't find it.
Aiming salt would work because that will increase the conductivity. But the problem with salt is if you have it in high enough concentration, it's also going to enhance the deterioration of your ground rod.
Well, it can also kill any vegetation, right? So like if you poured like a bunch of salt out in the backyard, that could be a little bit of a problem. And then also it can dissipate, right? So like it might not stick around.
Yep.
Yeah. I was insulted. I'm just putting that out there.
You were insulted?
I was insulted. Somebody told me my pee had salt. I was insulted.
I mean, your pee has more salt than the Gulf of Mexico, son. There you go.
So here
Jason's
we go.
Got it.
The right. Right. That's the way to do it. So when you bind your stuff together, we talked and showed a picture in the beginning, the central bus that serves as the anchor point for all the station equipment and connects the system together through that low impedance path. So, and you can pick those up for about $40. They're pretty cheap. Or you could do what Jim did and just get a piece of copper pipe, which is a really common thing to do, and then just bind everything to that copper pipe.
I used self-tapping screws and run the ground cables with a lug to the screw and then tightened it down. That's how I've got it in here and out in the shed too. So, but
the two of those aren't connected together, are they?
No. The shed is 80 feet the other way. It's not anywhere close to the house. So it's its own electrical system out in the shop. So,
yeah. And I was reading where they were saying that like if you have everything like your RF all tied back into your central ground rod in your house, and your neighbor's ground rod is close to yours, you could actually be doing interference through the soil conductivity in the earth from one ground rod to another, even though they're not bonded together with any copper. They're bonded together through the earth. And then that RF can come out like the TV speaker, for example, in the other person's house. So it's not traveling over the air. It's traveling through your ground. I've personally never seen that happen, but it seems plausible.
My nearest neighbor house is probably 120 feet away or more. So
they moved it when you moved in. Is that what happened? Or
we have a big yard.
Oh, got you. So we talked about the central ground bus, and then the chassis and rack bonding. That's all of your equipment tied back to that central ground bus with the shortest possible low impedance conductors, and that would be that copper braid is the recommended solution there. And that stuff will even, I can't remember what Tio's fancy word was, but it will corrode. We'll go with that one.
Verdigris, yes.
Verdigris. Even inside, right? That's not
oxidized.
That's an inside or outside thing. And we do all this to reduce shock and risk of RF interference.
Jerry, we'll see you, buddy. Thanks for coming.
Later, bro.
See you, Jerry.
Y'all smash the like button. It owes you money.
Corrode looks like it might be the word of the day. All right. So then this is how we form that low impedance network. It's uniform ground potential between all of our equipment, corrosion heat resistant hardware. And I'm not telling anybody how to spend their money. I might have said heat resistant, but corrosion resistant hardware. One of the things that I've learned over the years of being on the flat earth is that it's probably worth it to spend a little bit more money on quality connectors and cables instead of buying the cheap stuff, because the cheap stuff generally will have problems or break down over time. And so spend
especially a few coax connectors.
Yeah.
That's the one where everybody wants to cheap out instead of buying the good ones.
Well, like people will buy expensive coax and then buy the cheapest connector to put on the coax.
Here's 17 connectors for $5.95. I'm not paying for them Teflon ones.
Right.
On my LMR 400 or my 9913.
It's the same thing. It's like the connectors that you have on your power cables, like the spade connectors and ring terminal connectors.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of the material in there can make a big difference. And then direct short connections reduces the risk, reduces impedance and risk of stray currents. And what is Benny saying?
Grounding. Well, I think he meant grounding. Grounding, bonding, lightning protection is the most complicated thing in ham radio. Thanks for streaming. Appreciate it, Bemmy.
You know, I would agree with him, except some of the rules around some of these contests might be a little bit more complicated.
Yes, but they don't cause as much drama as grounding and bonding, right?
Right. But some of those rules, I think, might beat it. And let's see what else we got here.
Cornbread's talking about power conditioners. I don't know exactly what one of those does. I've seen them. I've heard of them. I don't.
We say power conditioners are good for campers, and I don't know exactly what they do either. I'm assuming that you have some sort of isolator in the conditioner, and then some sort of capacitor that stores and releases energy. And so what it does is that if you have a surge on one side, it doesn't go all the way. It doesn't make its way all the way through the device. So it's not quite like a surge protector where it'll fail, but it's like it's almost like a UPS, like a battery.
That's what I was thinking.
I actually have one.
I would assume it has a MOV in it or something similar to protect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, the thing is what it's supposed to do is that stop any like a ripple or a surge that's coming across that wire, so that everything on the other side, if it's sensitive equipment, stays the same.
Smooth.
But what they won't do is that if you lose power, they won't keep powering. Right? They require power themselves. So it's like a UPS. If your mains power goes out, your equipment will still stay up. It won't with a conditioner. But most UPSs built for like computers and stuff like that have conditioned power as a feature. There you go. Yep, it's the old Delta feeds how they get you. So conclusion and best practices, make sure that you do have comprehensive grounding. So you want to integrate lightning, RF, and AC grounds with multiple rods for full spectrum protection. That's the recommended way. We're not recommending it. We're just reading off the slide. Always get the advice of a seasoned professional. Strategic bonding, link all metal components like to a common bus to ensure uniform potential. We talked a little bit about those bus bars. And then inspect and adapt, regularly test systems and upgrade materials to withstand environmental stress. And I guess now is the time where people ask us crazy questions.
More crazy.
Crazy questions.
Yeah, we were talking about that when storm comes, disconnect everything and put the end of the coax outside. So that's I disconnect the coax from outside and then coil it up, which is a total pain in the butt. But I don't want to get hit by lightning when I'm sitting at my desk. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't like them?
No. Well, I don't know. Maybe I do, but I don't want to find out.
How do you know you don't like something unless you've tried it?
I mean, some people have to pay extra for that kind of excitement. So,
I think back to the Pulp Fiction movie when people talk about that, and Samuel L. Jackson says, "A sewer rat may taste like pumpkin pie,
but I would never know." Nasty thing.
Right. So, I'm okay making an educated guess or just a random guess that I might not like it. Here we go. We heard us saying, after seeing this presentation, anyone to do a kite model antenna activation? So I actually set up a kite and put a Edfong J pole on it and was able to get the Edfong J pole about 30 feet in the air. The problem that I had was I was using RG174, which is super duper lossy coax, and I was operating at 2 meters.
Matt.
So I have no idea, but I have no idea if it worked well or not.
Yeah. So this is another thing that people did. They take these old Cantronics and you take the metal case off of it, and then this thing can be powered by a 9-volt battery. So you tie this to a balloon or a kite or something and fly this up in the air, and you've got a APRS digipeater for your whatever, for your field day activities or your club activation or something.
So that anybody close by. You're saying they do it with a balloon, though, not a kite, right?
Balloon or a kite, either way. Depends on how much you want to pay attention to it. I think with a kite, you'd have to pay a little bit more attention to it.
Have you seen the balloons that you hook to your car exhaust?
No.
So they're like a weather balloon, but you fill them up with a car exhaust, and apparently the heat from the car exhaust makes them lighter there. They don't stay up for very long, but they get pretty big, and then you can use them to do those float things around.
That'll work.
I guess the question is, how much weight can it handle? Like for my kite antenna, I'd want to do a vertical dipole or something. So you'd have the kite wire coming up, and then you'd have the coax center feed, and then you'd have all the weight of the coax coming down off of the line.
Well, see, that's why I was using the RG174, and I had a rather big kite, but it was the Edfong J pole. Now, I guess what you could do, right, is if you wanted to set up like a super duper long wire, so you let your kite out a little bit and then maybe attach like a 200-foot piece of 28 gauge wire to the kite string, and then let that keep going out, but keep your transformer down on the ground and your coax down on the ground. Would give you a super long wire antenna that you could get out pretty far. But yeah, if you're trying to put like RG8X 100 feet in the air, that's going to be a challenge, right?
Yeah, I mean, but what kind of antenna would you use to take advantage of the kite? I mean, I wouldn't want to put a ground-mounted end-fed half-wave with the transformer at the ground and the coax at the ground and the wire up. I can just use a tree for that. Where's the excitement?
Well, if you
I want to take advantage of a kite.
But if you're using like 150 feet of wire, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's probably easier to get up with a kite than it is in a tree. Like a long wire. Arnold Grubbs is saying.
Well, or a drone.
Yeah,
because the drone
use 3 kites.
Yeah,
one for the center and one for each end of the dipole. Right. I mean, if you're going to do it, you want to do it.
Well, you'll need a big ass kite, and then you'll need some serious wind.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture a bunch of hams of a certain age, similar to this crew, running along, pulling 3 kites that are humping wire too, trying to get that all in the air. And I'm like, nope, that looks like 4 heart attacks.
There'd be no running.
I see, Rick. Well, yeah, that's why I did the 2 meter. But again, I should use 316 instead of the 174.
Yeah,
which would have probably been a better choice for me there.
Yeah, Matt's got it halfway for 160.
Yeah,
and you could use your 8-foot ground rod to anchor the kite. There you go.
I just think this whole kite thing is a bad plan.
That's also part of the fun.
This is probably a bad idea.
It's probably the kind of thing to do once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I did hook up my metal roof and FTA it off of it. I did it once. I'm good. It wasn't dangerous though, and it didn't involve me running.
I don't know about that. And people talk about using like rain gutters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if it's your house and you're using your rain gutter, it's not that big of a deal. But there was a guy that was saying that he was using his rain gutters at his apartment building.
I wouldn't want to do that around people who weren't me. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like somebody go out there and touch that thing and get lit up, have their filling start receiving signals.
Yeah, well, he did his antenna radiation survey as required by the FCC, right? I mean, he's fine.
Well, the antenna radiation is different though than than getting shocked from touching it, though, right?
Yeah.
He's got all his signs up: warning, radio emissions present, danger, high voltages. If you have a pacemaker.
Yeah, Aussie Ham Radio is asking if the kites work on a flat Earth. They work anywhere there's wind.
I just don't understand how the wind doesn't fall off the edge into space.
It's more even on flat Earth.
Winds go in circles. You've seen
right. It goes
hurricanes
around.
and tornadoes. I always like how flat earthers, anti-flat earthers are always like, yeah, but every other thing in the sky is round except for the Earth. No, everything's flat. Duh.
Right. I mean, you can see it.
Oh my God.
I don't understand it.
You people are enough to make someone actually drink.
I thought you did drink. Not often, but you do sip on the brown.
I do have a sip every so often.
I was thinking about bringing some to
the lips.
to Dayton. A little bit of the brown liquors to Dayton from the.
What do you want? Because I have a ton of it here that we'll never get drank. I'll bring it.
I don't know if I want anything, to be honest with you, besides beer.
I want to see Chuck get lit.
Oh yeah, we
have a ton of stuff.
You've never seen that. You just
I just hear about it.
Yeah, Wednesday night ain't no drinking. The drinking lamp is off on Wednesday night because you guys we got some work to do.
Well, Wednesday night is not the 5 days in May thing. That's Thursday.
That's Thursday, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's prep for Thursday. That's what he's saying.
I don't know what we're doing Thursday morning. I don't know if we have a plan.
We got to go get media passes. That's all. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you'll stand in that 1,000-foot long line with unwashed.
There goes Jean-Luc saving the day.
John brought the liquor the last time in Orlando, and I had a taste. It was good stuff.
You couldn't help the dog. Do it. We'll have to get Bloody Mary mix. Is that what you do in the morning, Chuck? Is the Bloody Marys?
I have, yeah. Well, that's usually when I'm
from California
camping with other people.
Man.
It's probably having guacamole on toast.
Well, like that one show that you did, didn't it? We were doing a show,
yes,
Chuck, and
she handed me one. She goes, here. She makes really good ones. I mean, it's like a meal. There's bacon in it. There's all kinds of stuff in it.
Go to Maryland, you get crab claws in there. Yeah.
But that wasn't like when Chuck had to be taken off the screen by Kathy had to come and get him. That was a different time.
I will never forget that.
That was a birthday party. I was
somebody had been partying. That's a fact.
It was a party. That was sure.
You've never seen.
Are we doing a Toads meetup? Yes, we are. We actually are doing a Toads meetup all weekend. We have our own Toads booth that y'all can come join us at all day long.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we have the location of the booth yet, but
I will call Baltimore Mike today, but I pretty much it should be where he was last year. Yeah.
He's right here in the chat.
I haven't talked to him. I want to talk to him, and I just haven't called him.
What building is it behind? That's the question. Because
it's
I have
right
no
straight out
reference.
From the pork chops.
Right. So if you go
building is it behind? You could say you don't know. It's okay.
You have to go do a 180 from the pork chop stand and then walk down that row between the two buildings, right?
The paved road. Yep. Walk away from the food stuff. The U area where the pork chop sandwiches and the gyros and corn dogs and tacos on a stick or whatever. And there's a paved pathway road.
These guys don't listen.
And you'll cross right over it, and we'll be there at the corner going toward the big field.
They never listen. Never.
You got to tell him twice, Mike.
Mike, I just want to verify everything with you. That's all. I was going to call you the other night, but you're on the East Coast, and I was afraid it might be past your bedtime or something. So,
well, we were going to do a meetup at the flagpole, but I guess that's canceled, right?
If we have our own booth, why meet at the flagpole?
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. I'm not humping antennas up to the flagpole.
that's right.
Bring your camp chair. Get it all set. I was going to say N0VTY, yes. You can tell a man's stature by his landmarks that he gives out. Well, you go down past the pork chop sandwiches, you turn right at the pizza place.
Matt's got it right there. That's right. Triangulate between the pork chops and the portalets.
The portalets, huh?
Portalets.
But I guess Thursday, we don't have to go and set anything up on Thursday because we're going to do that.
John, he's got a pocket goat.
On Friday, right?
I assume so, yeah.
How soon till the chokes get sent out? If you bought it, it should be already sent out.
I think we had 5 so far go out from the new batch.
We had 5 or 6 ordered. Chuck got the chokes yesterday in hand. They'll go out maybe today. I already sent him all the orders that are in the store.
Awesome.
So they'll either go out today or Monday morning. Today, Chuck?
And we probably won't have any chokes at Dayton, though, right?
Today's tough because I got to get there before noon.
Well, it's like 5 a.m. right there.
Yeah, I'm like, right? You're the one complaining about it. 7 o'clock in the morning.
It's still dark out, isn't it, over there?
It's 8 o'clock now.
We'll tell Kathy to get that stuff boxed up and carried to the post office.
She don't box it up.
That's not how that works, Jim.
She does take it to the post office sometimes because she has to go.
You
there
have met Kathy. It don't work like
that. I have met Kathy,
but I've got a 31-pound
Chuck doesn't wander
box
off.
that I have to take this time, so she probably won't want to do
that.
It
hurts.
They're saying this changing the pork chops to kebabs. Chuck, didn't you get a pork chop on a stick or something?
Mm-mm.
Oh! I told you, Jim.
Oh, that was at Orlando, I think.
I told you, Jim.
Oh boy,
Kathy, we know who's the boss there. I was just trying to make Chuck feel empowered.
Chuck, did you do something different with your lighting today?
No, I'm closer right now than I usually am. I'm usually here.
Kathy, I'm going to miss you at Dayton. Bluffs,
Makes
welcome.
a huge difference.
Welcome. Glad to have
Bluffs.
you.
Bluffs. Thank you.
I know Bluffs.
Bluffs
lives north of me.
Dance like I don't care.
He doesn't even know what that is. Okay.
Somebody got it was either pork chop on a stick. Somebody got something on a stick while we were there.
That was at Orlando, I thought.
I don't remember.
There was like the
Orlando
chicken on a
last
stick.
year. Maybe
but
that
Chuck,
was it.
you didn't get the pork chop sandwich the first time, right? You got something different.
I forget.
He got that smoked
like
turkey
2 years
leg.
ago, man. No, I wouldn't buy that.
All I know is me and the primate are all in on pork chop sandwiches.
They're good. It's that spray that he sprays them down with.
Yeah.
Grease and sweat.
The extra grease. You don't want them dry.
And if you have a media pass, you don't have to go and stand in a long line. We can go in the special.
Right, we go into the back door. Speaking of spray, we've been working on this new product, Mowatts. And if you need Mowatts and secure for QRP, you get this new spray directly on your antenna. It's made up of a space age spray and increases your power output. So I look.
Isn't the space age like the 60s? So, I mean, it's definitely guaranteed to be compatible with ham radio.
Right, 100%.
It does not support HDMI connectors, though. It will not work with HDMI.
No, they were using RCA connectors. There's probably an RCA connector on the bottom to refill it, right, Abe?
Yeah.
Correct. Actually, hold tight. I think I got another one of the...
Arnold, we will be at Vendor Night.
Yes, we'll have a table there, too.
And we will have a table at FDIM.
I have some special stuff for you guys to buy.
What do you? Oh, you're talking about your secret project stuff that you're keeping secret.
That he's told everybody about.
Told about a couple of times on stream. Yeah.
Oh, I've never really showed them before. This is the first time I've showed it. It's a little different. It's got some concave edges. No, it's very secretive about it because I know there's people that would steal the idea. Just saying. Just saying.
They're asking if it comes with fluorocarbons. Yes, it does. That's part of the thing.
Well, we recaptured all the ones that they stopped using in the 80s. That's how we get a discount. Pass that savings on to you.
Let's see what I got here. I think I might have another one of the.
No. It's not supposed to be eaten. I mean, you guys can, but it's not supposed to be eaten.
I mean, if you get your sushi from a gas station, maybe not a bad idea.
Well, sushi in Hawaii
with
and gas stations is pretty good.
I mean, I know, except they have Spam in all their sushi. Every time when I was there, I was like, oh my God, Spam.
That's not what I wanted to do. Let me remove it.
What are you doing? You got to close one to open
there.
It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and so we're working on various marketing material, and this is some OM ham that we had help test us out, and he really liked that. So also, if you want to, if you want to help test this stuff, just email Jim.
Don't.
It's in the store, isn't it?
Then we can put you. No, we didn't have enough to put it.
Is that Jean Shorts, Dave? That you or Stan?
No. Stan's in another one, but this is not. This is this is just some random OM that I met and had him testing it out.
Oh, Marvin's right. He's on to us. The digital version is $5 more.
It always is.
More power.
Right. But I don't know, Dave.
We don't. This is not authorized in California, Dave.
Of course, we haven't
produced the California version, the California compliant version of it yet.
Yeah, we're still doing.
It'll be in a hand cranked spray bottle.
So Ham Band is asking if the guy in the picture is AI generated. No, because your typical OM in ham radio is really grumpy and sour faced, and this guy's happy.
Right.
You just can't fake happiness like that.
He's happy because of the Mowatts. He's like, I got Mowatts, and Mowatts changed my life. Right.
There's no way that guy's a ham.
I think that this one is Stan.
Stan's older than I thought he was.
Well, he wasn't always that old, but he's that old. He's that old now.
That is a magnificent mustache that Stan has there. I like that mustache. He must have been a fireman.
He's on his way to Wyatt Earp status.
I think he was a detective, but
he's your Huckleberry.
Yeah, and the thing is, it is 100% legal in most time zones. I think that's one of the things that we should probably get out there for folks.
Wouldn't want to mislead anybody. Oh, Andrew, I used to like you. We used to be friends.
Good shooting, Tex.
See you, Jimmy. Thanks.
Jimmy, take it easy, bud.
Right there, Jimmy.
All right, I'll get this silliness out of here. Let's figure out how to do it.
A lot of people want to buy it by the case. We're going to sell it immediately.
I would buy it by the case too. And it's like I said, it's the cure for QRP. So if QRP's got you feeling down, there you go.
So did you guys notice that Ape's got multiple pictures shared? He can't show them all at one time, but it's letting him cue them up.
Yeah, and
that's a new feature.
Yeah.
The feature I liked was when they prevented me from joining the stream this morning by asking me to take part in a very quick survey to ask me how I liked their product. Right now, I don't like it very much.
I don't like it at all.
Well, they also tried to get you to push an affiliate link now.
Yeah. I'm like, who would I push it to except you three? And oh wait, we already have StreamYard.
Yeah,
that one. That affiliate link.
Aloysius, thank you for the $9.90 super chat on Car, and we do have Ham Church in the morning. We are going to be playing with or at least looking at a whole bunch of antennas and talking crap about something.
Well, there you go.
Talking crap, more like complaining.
Crap. Ranting, possibly. Jason, thank you for the
waxing philosophically.
Appreciate it.
There you go.
Talk about doctoring things. All right. Well, is that about it for today? Do we got anything else?
Ask, we had another announcement or anything like that. I don't think we have one.
We need to talk about the coffee. You guys need to buy coffee. We reduced the price for y'all. And we have 3 different brews.
Subliminal.
That is the private reserve that the TO is showing, and that's what I like. That is really full-bodied coffee, not overly burnt Starbucksy coffee when I say full-bodied.
Hold on. I got one for that too.
There you go. There you go. If you like your coffee so the cup has to be chipped away so you can gnaw on it in the morning, that is the stuff you want right there. Little too spicy for me.
Yeah.
And Mrs.
then Chuck's
Perry,
going to
which
have to
is
tell
more
us
important.
about this one.
And Chuck drank all that.
That one's awesome.
So that is a breakfast blend. Is that the
Thanks,
Mexican Chiapas coffee?
No, this is the breakfast blend one.
Okay. The private reserve is the Chiapas.
Yes.
Right.
That's the one I like.
Yeah. Yeah, we love that one. That was really
Caliente.
good. So $14.95 a month and gets you a bag of coffee every month delivered to your door. And there was a question about this the other day in the chat. Somebody wanted to know when they got their coffee. And I can't remember the exact dates, the 10th and like the 25th, I think.
Yeah. It's a subscription. It's a coffee of the month club. So, it only gets shipped out twice a month.
Twice a month. They only ship on 2 days of the month. So it depends on when you buy it and when you start your subscription, when you're going to get your first bag. So, and it is quite delicious. We are completely back in stock on chokes. We've already sold 5 or 6 out of the latest batch from our redneck friend in Florida. And we have those. We have Kronos back in stock. Correct, Chuck? I don't remember.
We're still waiting on the lock nuts, right?
Oh yeah, we're
no, we're not. No, that's
okay.
for the next batch.
Okay, so because I thought we had them in stock. I'd have to look at the website.
We sold.
So everything is in
them
stock
already.
Yeah.
N0VTY says he can drink that bag in a day. I guess you're going to have to get 30 bags on subscription. We'd be happy to get that for you.
There's a solution there.
Oh, Dave gave us some new information. 10th, 20th, and 30th. Okay. I couldn't remember. I knew it's only a specific
3 days.
And Florida is the home of the turtle.
I know her.
Florida.
She
works at the gas
show
station
that spun off from that racist show we talked about earlier today. That's how I know, because I was triggered. It's just stuck with me for the last hour.
So Ham Bandit's asking if the Balfangs are going up with the tariffs, or maybe he's stating, I don't know. I did a video on some of how ICOM is dealing with the tariff stuff. But Gio, you probably got the same email. One of the battery manufacturers that we work with sent me an email and said that they're going to have a new he said, "Oh
my God,
they're going to come out with a new pricing structure on those." And there was another one I got from a ham radio company. I can't remember what it was.
Well, Redibus is saying that their prices are going to go up. They're trying to get some sales stuff done before the prices go up.
Yeah,
but it's all posturing and saber rattling and grandstanding. It hasn't landed yet.
It hasn't landed yet, and it will probably go away in a few months. So just
like they say on our favorite show, this has all happened before, and this will all happen again.
Yeah.
Well, they were saying that some of the Yaesu radios had gone up in price and then have come back down, where they had a temporary bump.
That little Yagi I did a video on. Some guy told me it's already gone up $5 since I posted. I think he bought one and it's already gone up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that was from China. 200%.
It went up 200% is $5. How much was that Yagi?
No, that's what we're charging China now. 200% tariffs or something like that.
I thought it was 100.
It's 125 as
maybe it's
yesterday.
125.
It's 145.
If 5 minutes from now it'll be something different.
Under the previous administration, we had 100% tariff on electric vehicles coming from China. That's why you don't see any electric vehicles in the U.S. Yeah,
there's no electric vehicles.
This ain't new. Like we never had tariffs before.
All right, are we about done?
Jim would like to change the subject. Motion to change the subject.
Motion to change the subject to anything except politics.
Well, the conversation isn't if tariffs are bad or not. The conversation is how they're impacting us, right?
Yeah,
and that's just an education.
We don't know. They haven't landed yet. Yeah.
And as far as I know, this hobby is optional. We can all bitch about it, but don't buy stuff then. Buy something else. I'm into 3D printing, right? Almost every popular
100%.
consumer 3D printer comes from China.
What you're saying is you support communists.
No, I'm telling you that's what I have already.
There are American-made that live in the communist country.
There are American-made printers, and they are not even in the neighborhood of nearly as cheap as the Chinese ones. And They may or may not be better, but some of them things, they're proud of them.
No, Tom. You might have ordered one and gotten two, but
If Chuck was in them. Mm-hmm.
But no, it's one choke per order.
I can get 2 in a box.
There we go.
Chuck knows how to pack a box.
He sure does.
Man,
All right, well,
I'm going to hit the button.
Thanks, everybody.
Y'all have a good one. See ya. Button engaged.